Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to manage life with a toddler and a newborn and some of the things that I did to keep my sanity, keep the family happy, basically just stay afloat. The most important thing for me was having my mother here for the first 3 weeks or so and just kind of having some help. So I don't know what your relationship is with your mother. Maybe it's your sister, maybe it's a nanny, just having that extra help while you're recovering because you just grew a human for 9 months and then gave birth. And so I just really think that having those first few weeks with some extra hands is unbelievably important, and I could not have done it without that. One of the key things that was really important for me was having them have a healthy bond, the new baby and my toddler. And so I did try to do everything that I could to kind of promote that relationship with them. And if you haven't seen my other video about preparing a toddler, I'll link that in the description box below, so be sure to check that one out too. I had read somewhere that it was really good for them to laugh together and snuggle together and just feel that bond. So like when I would be holding them both, maybe able to do tickles with the big one and just having those moments together where everybody's laughing, everybody's happy. You know, you're releasing those endorphins and those feel-good bonding hormones, and when they do that around you and the other one, then they bond together as well. And that's kind of a natural thing anyway, but just something that you might not think about. Just having those like sweet moments with them together, with you, or with the whole family, so that everybody is kind of sharing these feelings together. Another thing that I would do, I would let him help out as much as possible whenever he wanted to. I would let him read to her if he wanted to, not really read, but kind of show her books or show her pictures. And then I would say things like, oh, Ruby's so lucky to have such a sweet big brother. I'm so glad that you guys have each other, and just kind of like that language with him so that he feels again like he's an important part of the family, and that, you know, we all really appreciate everything that he's doing and just appreciate him. They're not always going to feel like they're happy about being a big brother because they are having to share you. It's totally different, especially for in our case, you know, I was with my son all the time, every day. You know, I'm stay-at-home mom, I'm with him, and then all of a sudden there's somebody else, and so he has to share my attention, and sometimes that's going to be hard. And so I thought it was important to be accepting of that, and if he didn't feel like being a big brother at that moment, to let him have those feelings and just tell him, you know, everybody kind of feels like this sometimes. It's really hard to show your mom, it's really hard to show your dad, this is really different, and basically empathize with his feelings, because even though as adults, you know, we know that they're gaining something big, but then there are still those moments where it's tough. Another thing that I was really worried about is like, I'm gonna have to be nursing this baby like all the time, and I've got my 2-year-old running around. How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna make this work? And so sometimes it would be a thing where if I'm nursing, I would just sit him next to me and read to him while I'm nursing, so that he felt like he could always be there. He didn't have to like go away if she was nursing, because you know, babies nurse all the time. Sometimes he didn't feel like sitting still, and that was okay too. So I thought it was really helpful to have activities that he didn't always have. So maybe that's like a little busy box, or maybe that's a fun toy or a puzzle, or just something that he doesn't get all the time that's not just out, and just bring that out for nursing. Another thing with nursing, if you can learn how to nurse in the carrier, it is so clutch. I felt like I could do anything when I learned that. I was like, yes. When I could get the baby to nurse in the carrier, and when I could get the baby to sleep in the carrier, I really felt like, okay, I can do anything now. In general, the carrier is so gold. I used it with my first, but with my second, it was so necessary. So when they were little, I used the stretchy carrier, the baby Catan I had, and that one was great for, because it was like boom, boom, you can put it on really easily and kind of go anywhere. And this for the first couple of months when they were super tiny. And so she kind of lived in that thing. That way I was able to cook. We could go outside, which was rare, but you know, I could still take care of him and have her clothes and make sure that she was getting what she needed, which is just to be held. Honestly, I don't know how I would have done a baby and a toddler without a carrier. For avoiding the rivalry sort of situation, I read this book called Siblings Without Rivalry, and so there's a few things in there that I thought were really helpful. One was just like never comparing them, be like, well, your sister does this, or look what this person's doing. So like not even like really mentioning the other sibling when you're talking about the one. When you're talking about the one, it's just about that one. Also with the toys, I didn't want them to be like, that's mine, or she can't play with this, and I didn't want it to be like that, so I would say this is ours, or the toy, or our toys, so that nobody was like, oh, she's touching my thing, or she's touching my train. And it worked. They know now. You say, oh, well, this one's having their turn, so they get to finish their turn, and I let them have a turn with whatever for as long as they want, and then when they're done with it, then they can give it up, because it starts really early. The thing that the toddler hasn't been interested in ever is suddenly like the most important thing in the world, and they like have to have it. It's like, wait a minute, now this little person is taking my things. That's why it wasn't your toys, these are our toys. You can finish your turn, and I'm not going to take it from you if she wants it, and she can finish her turn, and I'm not going to take it from her. Another thing that I saw that is absolutely normal was just some regressions. A lot of people see like potty training regressions, or suddenly they want a pacifier, or they want a bottle, or they want to be a baby. And I think it's just important to just accept that that's gonna happen, because they just want to feel like they are special and important like the baby. So, you know, if he was like, I want a passy, then I would just be like, okay, here you go, and then he'd get over it like 10 seconds later. So it wasn't like he was all of a sudden gonna start using a passy again. He just wanted that attention for a second. I wouldn't let him use hers. I'd be like, okay, here. You know, he's over it 10 seconds later. My husband worked in production, and so his hours were super long, so a lot of times I was doing bath time, bedtime, the whole night routine by myself, and so it was like, how am I going to do this? What I ended up doing, I would just put them to bed together, and it actually was like a really nice little thing that we would end up doing after we turn off lights. I would nurse Ruby, and then Jude would lay there, so he'd be happy that we were in the room with him, and so he was quiet, and Ruby was quiet, she was nursing, so it just worked out. Bath time kind of got a little bit sticky because I couldn't bathe them together at this point because she was too small, but as soon as she could sit up, I got a little bath chair that she would sit in, so I could just bathe them together, because that just made it so much easier for me. But I would throw like a 20-minute program on for Jude and let him watch that while I would give her her bath, and just kind of keep an ear out for him while she was taking her bath, and then I would go check on him real quick when she got out, then I'd come get her ready, and when I could put them to bed together at the same time, then I would do that. Like I said, it doesn't always work out like that, but when it did, and it did pretty often, then it was really nice. I do think that it's really important to still spend one-on-one time with each kid. If one's awake while the other's napping, then it's a great time to just set the timer. Sometimes I would just set a timer on my phone for like 15 minutes so that I would focus on Jude and just know that this is Jude's time. And I think that that really helps with some of the acting out and just that anxiety, if they just have that focus from each parent every day, if you can. You know, it's not always possible, but when I could do it, I did do it. Another thing that I was super nervous about was like, how am I going to feed these children? How am I going to feed myself? How is this going to work? I'm going to be making 3 meals a day. For dinners, I tried to do some freezer meals, and this is like way easier said than done. Oh, just stock up your fridge with freezer meals, but when you're like preparing, it's a lot. So I did some, and when I would just cook leading up to having baby, I would just make a bigger recipe so that I could just save half of it and throw it in the freezer so that I could have it after the baby was born. And that was so nice. Instead of having to think about what to do for dinner, I could just literally just warm something up. So 100% recommend that if you can do that. And then also I relied heavily on a good grocery delivery service if you have that in your area. And I think that that has been so helpful to me. Even like meal delivery services, you know, if you can just have something set up where you have dinner taken care of for like the first 6 weeks or so, it's just really, really helpful. When you have your new little baby, your baby is gonna look so tiny and your toddler is gonna look huge. I remember looking at you and like, how is he so big? He's huge. And so then in your head, you kind of start to think that, you know, they're a big kid now. They shouldn't be acting like a baby. They're a big kid. And so looking back, I feel like I had kind of really high expectations for him. If I could go back, I would tell myself to just be like, he's still a baby, because they are. They're still babies. So I just feel like you need to like have that mindset, even though you have this new little baby, that your big baby is still needing a lot, they're still learning a lot, and so to have those expectations be reasonable for their age and their development is really important. I think that that would help you a lot with just what to expect. So you've got to expect them to act not perfectly and not exactly how you want them to be, because they're not going to. So one thing that I told myself, I was like, I'm just expecting this to be extremely difficult and really, really hard for the first year. And I'm just gonna get that in my head, that this is gonna be near impossible to navigate. And then when things go well, it's just like a happy surprise. You know, it's like, okay, this is great, we got through this day. And then it really does get easier as time goes by. The first 3 months I felt were like really challenging and really hard, especially after my health left. Then after the 3-month period, you kind of get like this, okay, got through that, and then it gets a little bit easier. I felt around the 5 to 6 month period, it got a little bit easier, and I was able to do more. Like naps are a little bit more regular, and you get your schedule going a little bit more, you're sleeping more. Things change over time, they become more independent, and so just getting through that first year was just like, yes, we did it. And then it just becomes kind of second nature, and you've done it, like you've got this, you've figured it out how to manage more than one kid. Because when you have one kid, it seems super hard until you have 2 kids, and then you're like, one kid is so easy. What was I thinking before? With one baby, like I could do anything in the world if I just had one baby, but it just doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, when you have one baby, it feels hard until you have 2. At the end of the day, you're gonna find your rhythm. That's the beauty of this whole like parenting thing. You can listen to whatever you want to listen to. You can listen to this expert. You can read this book. You can do this thing, and then I do think it's important to educate yourself and get as much information as possible, and then just do what feels right to you. You're gonna find what works for you guys, and it's all gonna come together. And just know that everybody has it. It's gonna be really hard for everybody. Sometimes it's gonna be really hard for you. You're gonna be like, I can't do this, it's too hard, and then you're gonna get past that moment, and then you're gonna make it to a point where you are confident in what you're doing for that moment, and then it'll probably pass too. But you'll just adjust, and you'll find your rhythm, and you'll get there. And like I said, low expectations really goes a long way. I really hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.